Welcome to Active Recovery Strength Stretching Week 3 Family Day edition. So we're going to scale this down a bit from what we've done the last couple weeks. So for those of you that are joining family members and kids, if you want to be better than your parents, something you're definitely going to be better at this. We're going to work on movement. The goal is to just create movement on days where you otherwise might not move as much. This month we've been focusing on a movement called a back bridge or a wheel. So especially you kids who are in gymnastics or just you mobile parents, you're going to excel at this if you haven't done it before, but for those that are like me working on it, we're still building on it. So follow along, get a comfortable place to sit down. We don't need anything for today. We're just going to keep flowing right through it. First part, hands and knees. So we want to start first with our back and start flexion, extension. Think cat-cow, flexion, extension, cat-cow. I want to find end range of motion, tuck the chin, round the spine, in through the nose and out through the nose. So a big component of this is going to be your breath work. So in through the nose, out through the nose, continue to move. Now, if you can't go in through the nose, out through the nose, try going in through the nose, out through the mouth as a second best, and only breathe in through the mouth, out through the mouth if you just cannot breathe through the nose at all. But let's work on that. Okay, so we've got our flexion extension. We're going to get both forearms down to the ground. We want them to be parallel to each other. Back is flat. I'm going to rotate one elbow up and over. Try to get across the body. Continue to breathe. I'll often catch myself as I'm talking, especially holding my breath. So just pay attention to your breath. In through the nose, out through the nose. Each rotation, try to get a little bit higher up. 2, 1, and then back to the hands. We're going to drop our hips down to one side. Make sure the hips are over top of the knees. Drop the hips, look over the opposite shoulder. Drop the hips, look over the opposite shoulder. Each one get a little bit lower, but don't let those hips moving forward on you. You want to keep the hips over top of the knees. Over top of the knees. Keep that breathing going. In through the nose, out through the nose. Rotation through the spine. 3, 2, and 1. All right, sit. Heels out in front. So let's get our position first. Heels as close to the butt as you can get them. Hands are going to be slightly open. Spread those fingers as much as possible. Keep the shoulders back. Staying up nice and tall. I'm going to drop the shins down to the ground. My trail knee is right behind the lead foot. Notice how when I pivot, pivoting on the heels, knee comes right behind the heel. I want both shins to come off the ground at the same time. I want both shins on the ground at the same time. Keep those heels close. Try not to shift away. In through the nose, out through the nose. If you have to readjust, bring your hands a little bit closer because you're sliding. Go ahead and do so. In through the nose, out through the nose. Try and keep the torso straight now. So before, if your torso is moving, keep it straight. I'm looking directly ahead as I bring the shins down. This creates a little bit more torsion, a little more tension through the hips. Another 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, I'm going to get into a 90-90 position. So in this 90-90 position, back leg, so the knee is at 90, hip is at 90, and same thing with the front leg, hip and knee at 90. I want to reach forward, palm is up, get into these figure 4s, a little dab here, reach, and then come into a cross-legged position and hinge. As I hinge, I want to keep my chest up nice and high. Feel that stretch on the outside of the hips. Now I'm going to switch sides. I bring the other leg behind. This stays forward. Get back in that 90 position. Palm comes up. Reach. Exhale here. Inhale on the way back up. Cross leg. Hinge. And then alternate. So let's work on this position. Get that 90-90. Reach. Palm up. And for those of you that have been following along, last few weeks, really, you can go back last 3 months really and find one of these every weekend. Go through it at your own pace. I'll cue you when we are switching. Those just learning, go at your own pace too. You can go at mine or even slower. I want to exhale as I reach. Inhale up. Cross leg. Exhale as I stretch. Inhale as I transition. And then exhale as I reach. 2 more. Last one here. And then we're gonna come back to center. We're gonna go into a frog position. So frog position, I want the knees out nice and wide. I wanna just gently, feet are close together. I wanna gently pulse back. I wanna feel that stretch on the insides of the legs. And now I'm gonna adjust my knees to make sure that that is an even stretch. So I don't want too much of a stretch on the left or too much on the right. I want to adjust so I've got an even stretch. I pulse back and forth, feel that stretch evenly. Find position here. Another 5 reps. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now we're gonna get some internal rotations. I'm gonna take one knee, I'm gonna rotate it forwards. I'm gonna bring my hands off to the side to help support me as I do this. Rotate on the knee, internal rotation, back to center. Okay, drop that hip down. It's almost like a little whip kick. Okay, increase the range of motion through the hip. And then sink back into that stretch. Find a nice rhythm here. 6 more. 3, 2, and 1. Now we're gonna stick one leg out. Okay, half kneeling frog. First thing I want to do is just find tension point evenly down the inside of the leg. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pivot on the heel. As I sink back, I pivot on the heel. This goes from the inside of the leg to the back. I'm going adductors, so the muscles on the inside of the leg, and then some hamstrings, medial hamstring on the inside. So I sink the hips back, toe is up, sink down, almost like a little mini Cossack here. Okay, for the hamstring, this is part of helping loosen up the groin. Inside the leg, even the hamstrings, sinking back. Another 5, 4, keep breathing. 3, 2, and 1. Let's switch sides. I think I can do about 5 minutes a leg. This is one of my weaknesses here, is getting a little bit range of motion. Now it's important, I know a lot of you have heard my lectures before. Maybe more often than you'd like. This might be the time when you press mute. But those of you who haven't, okay, flexibility, the ability to lengthen the muscle. More flexibility doesn't necessarily mean more fitness or better health. We want adequate flexibility, okay, but your tight hamstrings causing back pain and piriformis syndrome, all these things, it's not because of your flexibility. It's most likely your mobility, the ability to move through a range of motion. Okay, another 3. Oh, I'm gonna pivot now. Got excited about my lecture, got excited about this movement. Okay, it's your mobility. Remember to sink back, feel that into the hamstring, sink down, butt comes down to the heel. I get carried away. It's too bad no one's live anymore. You can just tap on the screen, be like, Greg, you've gone on too long. You've forgotten why we're here. It's not to hear you lecture. But anyways, I continue, so no one can stop me. We're gonna continue going down, hips, another 5 reps, but mobility. So why we do these active stretches or dynamic stretches where we're moving, creating some space, not necessarily just flexibility, which is lengthening the muscle. We want to increase mobility, the ability to move through a range of motion. And 1. Okay, good. Bring those knees back together. We get into a tabletop here. So from this, we're going to go into a little core stability. The goal is to keep the knees off as long as you can, but put them down if you need to. I want to first just get prepared here through the wrist. So I'm going to lift my hands up. I'm going to scoop the palm, flex the wrist, just back and forth, cracks out. I'm going to flip, hands over, fingers facing each other, and I'm just going to go left and right. So this is preparing us for the shoulder stability, but also preparing the wrists when we get into the wheel, moving back and forth. And then in this position, palms up, fingers facing, I want to make a fist. As I make a fist, I want to try and straighten my elbows out. Okay, this shouldn't hurt. You should feel some tension, but it shouldn't hurt. If it does, back off a bit. Bend the elbows maybe for the 3, 2, and 1. Let's put those hands back down. Actually, let's roll them out a little bit, loosen them up. Okay, separate the fingers. Then we're gonna get elbows down to the ground. Load up the triceps. So I sink down, load up the triceps. Almost like a little mini push-up. 2, and 1. Now I'm gonna do closed chain circles. I want to circle outwards for 3, 2, 1. Switch directions, elbows down and out. 3, 2, and 1. All right. knees off the ground. Scapular push-ups. Keep the elbows locked, shoulders away from the ears. I'm going to squeeze the shoulder blades together and then separate them as much as I can. Squeeze them together, which is just falling down the ground. Separate as much as you can. So the squeezing together part is easy because gravity's doing that work. It's the separating at the top. You want to feel that stretch between the shoulder blades. Press up as much as you can. Feel those shoulder blades stretching apart from each other, all while making sure the shoulder blades aren't going into the ears. Keep breathing. And 5. 4, keep those knees off. Elbows straight. 3, back straight. 2, and push into a down dog. So in this down dog position, we're going to pedal out. Okay, this is a good, safe position. Feel those shoulders burning to come into instead of putting the knees down on the ground. Now the pedal out is I push one heel down, push the opposite hand into the ground. One heel down, opposite hand into the ground. Feeling that stretch through the lats, calves, hamstrings. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, back into the beast. Next part in this beast, we're gonna go shoulder tap. Want to hold for 1, 2, back down, back is straight. 1, 2, keep the knees off the ground. Alternate. Find this tempo. 6 more. 2, 1, into the tall plank. Knees are off the ground. We're going to go windmill. I'm going to screw the shoulder into the socket. Sides of the feet, open up, thumb comes back. Stretch through the chest. Back to the plank, windmill, other side, open up. Really think about that hand that's in the ground, its shoulder, screwing into the socket. So on this side, you'll see I screw the shoulder into the socket. I'm pressing away from the floor. And 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stay up if you can. Let's go on to one side. We're gonna go Copenhagen plank now. So top leg is on the ground, lower leg off of the ground. Arm is up, holding 4, 10, 5 seconds. And 1. Don't go down. Let's go on the other side. Top leg on the ground, bottom leg off. Arm is off or up. 10 seconds. 5 more. 2, 1, back to the tall plank. Let's go down dog, pedal out. Now getting the chest a little bit closer to the feet, or walk the feet a little bit closer to the chest. In through the nose, out through the nose. There's our shoulder stability, stretching out the lats. We're gonna finish with 1 more, in through the core. We'll go a little more rotation. 2, 1, and let's go plank. Forearms. Palms flat on the ground, no holding them together. Stay hollow, don't let the hips drop. In through the nose, out through the nose. Or in through the nose, out through the mouth. Holding for 20. Keep breathing. 10 more seconds. Last 5, 3, and relax. Knees down onto the ground. Child's pose. Arms overhead. Stretch out those lats with a little, I call child's pose rock. So move left to right. Butt comes down to the heels. Straightening out those arms. Feel stretch in the shoulders and lats. Lengthen the spine. In through the nose, out through the nose. Back and forth. Feel that stretch through the shoulders. All right, we'll come back into the hips. I'm gonna start with my favorite, which is the lizard pose. So you're gonna get one knee on the ground, 1 foot forwards. One knee on the ground, 1 foot forwards. Now, position's important. I'm starting on this side. If anything, pay attention to this front foot. I've got what's called a tripod foot. Big toe, little toe, and heel firmly planted onto the ground. I'm maintaining an arch. I can use my hand to hold that down. And then what I want to do here is I want to push my knee as far forwards as I can over top the toes so that without the heel coming up. Okay, I want to maintain that tripod foot, push as far forward as I can. This is our start position. Now I'm going to draw some circles through this front hip, but those circles get translated by the knee, and I keep that knee forwards. Notice how far forwards the knee is, right? It's ahead of the ankle. I'm mimicking a squat or a lunge position, and depending on how tight you are, let's switch directions with those circles. You can feel this in a number of places. I feel this in the hamstring, high hamstring, back of the leg, in through the nose, out through the nose. Okay, now from here, I want to push the knee out, the same arm, and I want to look over the opposite shoulder. Now on this one, I'm going to let my big toe come off. I'm going to roll on the outside of the foot, look over the shoulder, get a little rotation, and now I'm going to counter rotation. I put my hand on the outside of the knee, and I look up and over. Push outside of the foot. Keep that breathing going. Inhale as you come up. Exhale as you look over. Inhale as you come back down. Exhale as you push and look over. Continue this motion. Two more. Okay, inside arm. Now notice I've maintained that knee is forwards. I'm not letting it come back. I want to maintain this tension. Inside elbow, forearm comes down to the ground. In through the nose, out through the nose. Maintain tripod foot. If you can't get the elbow on the ground, get as close as you can. We're working on getting that shoulder down to the ground. I'm just pulsing around down here, creating some space. Almost like I am whipping some whipped cream, some eggs, whatever that is, to get to the bottom of the bowl. I create that whipping motion, get some space. Never used whipped cream as an analogy before. Here we are, getting down to the bottom with those circles, creating some space, right? This is going to allow you to get a little bit lower, or at least make the bottom a little bit more comfortable in this stretch. So get that whipping motion, that circle. Create some space for another 2. 1, come back up. I'm going to straighten out the front leg. I'm going to sink down. Butt comes down to the heel. Get a little hamstring stretch. Now I'm going to get a little nerve floss here. So with the toes up to the shin, I'm going to pull those toes up to the shin. I'm going to bring my chin down to the chest gently. Feel that stretch down. We floss the nerve. And then point the toes, look up. Pull the toes back, tuck the chin, little floss to the nerve, and then back up. Let's get back into that kneeling position, and let's switch sides. Okay, tripod foot. Other sides. Remember, when I get knee forwards, now you're going to see what my back leg is doing. I adjust my back knee so that I can get into optimal position with the front leg, which is that tripod foot, knee over top of the pinky toes, fist down on the ground or hands, and draw in some circles here with that front hip and knee. Well, the hardest part is over. Well, maybe it's not the hardest part. The part with the highest heart rate is over. We got through that little core shoulder stability piece. Switch directions with the hips. Okay, now we begin to loosen up. So we're going to finish off with the, well, I shouldn't say finish off. We're going to finish this movement. Okay, go through this sequence on this side. Move on to a little lateral stretch. Then we're going to go into some shoulder prep. And then we're going to finish this off with the back bridge. So really not much more. In through the nose, out through the nose. And now let's go through our rotation. So push the knee out, on the side of the foot, look over the opposite shoulder, rotate, and then come back up, pull the knee in, and look up. Big deep breaths. Push the knee out, and up. Two more. Okay. Stretching out. Oh, nope, not yet. Stay forwards. Lizard. Forearm down. Just thinking it's awfully silent. I've been talking. But then again, focusing on the breathing gets me into a better stretch there, as it will for you. Okay, so let's get those circles or whip your way down to the bottom here. Forearm down to the ground. Create some space, wiggle around. Get every millimeter your hips, spine will allow you to. And as you move around, you loosen up. You get a little bit lower, you pick up that slack. Okay, as we pick up that slack, we get into these deeper ranges of motion. Okay, we can improve your functional range of motion, right? Because being able to do the splits isn't necessarily functional unless you're a gymnast. Okay, for real life, for instance, if you fell into the splits on ice, you would probably tear a muscle. So tightness in the muscles helps you prevent falling like that and potentially tearing the muscle. But we need adequate range of motion because too tight can also tear a muscle. Goldilocks principle applies to just about everything, especially mobility. In through the nose, out the nose, and now we're going to push back. Straight up the front leg, sinking back. Okay, let's get a little nerve floss here. Pull the toes up to the shin, bring the chin down to the chest, nice and slow. And then back up, point the toes, look up the ceiling. We'll do one more. Toes up to the shin, tuck the chin, and back up. Okay. So, sitting down, we're gonna go one foot in, one leg out. Okay, we're gonna do a side bend here. So what I want you to focus on, I've got the foot in right up next to the leg. Okay, I wanna try and stand up straight, and then I'm gonna push on the ground. I wanna reach and bend, and then other side, reach and bend. So just get a little lateral motion, reach and bend, reach and bend. Okay, so what you're noticing is that when I lift the arm up on the same side as the knee, tougher to get over. I want to get a little bit of a QL stretch, so the muscle in the spine and the back next to the spine, which can often cause symptoms either in the glutes or in the hips when it's tight. 2, 1, let's switch sides. Okay, just because we've done a lot of this sagittal, okay, the forward and back stretching. It's important to work also on this frontal plane. So push the hand down, reach up and over, reach up and over. Side bend. Almost there, 2 more. Last one. Okay. Sitting cross-legged now. We're going to go into some shoulder prep and do a couple things with the shoulders in the socket. So first thing is going to be screwing the shoulders in the socket. So we did some closed chain shoulder screwing, if you will, by having the hand down the ground. We did the windmills. Now we're going open chain, meaning there's nothing on the outsides of my hands. So what I want to focus on, try and stay up as tall as I can, stay in this cross-legged position. Okay, if you can't sit cross-legged, you can just uncross a little bit, but you want to try to stay vertical here because we want to work on this relationship with the spine. We're going to make a fist, and I want you to think about closing. Okay, I'm going to rotate the shoulders in. I'm going to close inwards. I want to screw those shoulders in the socket, and then I want to open outwards. Palm comes up, screw them into the socket. So I'm going to go inwards and outwards. Breathing going. So one of the things important to understand, especially really for all shoulder exercises, and we do want to work on your thoracic spine here too, loosening it up. One of the reasons why we're doing this seated, force it to stay in an upright position. But we want to focus on learning how to rotate the shoulders in through the socket. And by doing these closed chain or open chain screws, okay, so we're shoulder screw in here, we can feel the end range of motion. Notice how when the shoulders come back, when I open up, I should say the palms, I open the arms outwards, I can feel my lats turning on. This is an important thing to recognize. Okay, and when I close them or I screw them inwards, I can feel myself shrugging, right? So shrugging, this is what we want to avoid when we're doing loaded movements. But when we open here, this is what we want. We want the lats on, we want the shoulders packed down and back. Talked about that with kettlebell swings. So screw those shoulders into the socket. Next thing, palms are up. I'm gonna reach to the opposite shoulder blade, get up as high as I can, come back to palms up, reach up to the opposite shoulder blade. Keep your breathing going. Reach up the opposite side. Nice and high. If you can get them all the way up, great. Good for you. I'm still working on it. Okay, kids, if you're doing this, I know you can do this easily. Is this? Do this 100 times a day. Well, again, remember why you're here. You're here to be better than your parents. Reach up, nice and high. Okay, and believe me, once your parents see that you're able to do this, there's no kids watching this, I'm basically talking to myself, but once your parents are able to see you doing this, then they think, I should be able to do this. A little friendly, familial competition here. Last 2 and 1. Okay, and then final one here, we're gonna go, this is our fake wall arm slide because there's no wall, but we're gonna imagine we're sitting up against a wall. I wanna press straight up and back down. So think about those shoulders screwed into the socket, backwards. I wanna feel the lats. I wanna get between the shoulder blades, okay? The area in the T-spine, getting warm for these bridges. Reach up, we got 20 of these reps. 5, 6, elbows right down to the side, palms open, keep those arms right down the side of the torso. 10 more. Keep breathing. $18, 19, and 20. Good. All right. Okay, next part. So we're gonna go into our back bridge or wheel progression here. So in this back bridge, there are a few positions that we can work on, and we're gonna call them, we're gonna go through 3 phases. Okay, so phase 1 is gonna be getting the setup, getting your palms down onto the ground, fingers facing towards the heels. I want your heels close to the butt, as close to the butt you can get it. Okay, so the first one is simply keeping a bridge. So I want to push the hips up. I'm on the shoulder blades, okay, and I'm just maintaining this position. So my palms are flat on the ground. For some of you, this might be as far as you can go, because there'll be a big stretch in the forearms. We don't want to put too much pressure on the wrists, but we want to activate through the hips. So it's important that you're squeezing the glutes, pressing the hips up. This is an excellent anti-sitting mobility exercise. Why? Because when you're sitting, these muscles right now, if you're keeping these hips up, doing this with me, you'll start to feel those glutes firing or turning on. But if you just take your hands, put it on your low back, feel the stiffness in that low back, that's part of your core. Thumbs on the glutes, feel how firm they are. Yes, those firm glutes of yours. And then right now, the hamstrings are probably loose. If you go down, move those hamstrings around. We want glutes, low back, pressing up. This is phase 1. Phase 2, get a little bit more involved. We're gonna go on to the top of the head now. So I've still got my palms on the ground, but I'm on the head. I've got a little bit more hamstring engagement now. I'm not resting on the head. I'm just putting the head on the ground, make it like a tripod, 3 points of contact, hands and head. Now I'm gonna relax. When I come back down, just be aware of your hands. Now phase 3 is gonna be getting up as high as you can. Kids, this is where you excel, okay? And just life gymnasts. So we're gonna go through 5 sets of these bridges, holding them as long as you can. getting into the highest phase that you can, okay? This is our strength stretch. So we've been working on it this month. I'm gonna press up as high as you can. Now I'm not using the bench. Those of you following before, not using the bench, so this requires a little bit more mobility. All right, so whichever phase you're in, 1, 2, or 3, here we go. Pressing up. Long, high as you can get. 2, 1, and relax. Whew. Okay, that's much better. That's the first time I've done it from the floor since we started doing this. I guess this would technically be week 4, but week 3 of the program. I'm gonna put I've got socks on this, so they're sliding on this mat. I'm gonna go onto the floor here. Same thing, if you find that you're sliding, find somewhere you can push down. Okay, set 2. So I wanna get the butt as close to my heels as possible. Palms down the ground, fingers facing the heels. And let's push up. Here we go. Nice and high. Feel that stretch to the abs. Get up. 2, 1, and down. Yeah, much better. Much better for me at least. If you've been following these from the beginning of the month, okay, how does that feel? I don't have the same pressure on my wrists. Although I'm not all the way up, I'm aware of that. I feel like I can hold it much longer. I feel like I'm in a better position. I feel like my back is loosened up. Okay, and this is just from doing it once a week, working on these positions, along with the other movement I do during the week, but really, this is from doing these particular strength exercises. Okay, the strength stretches. All right, set 3. Hands, palms down on the ground, fingers facing the heels. Here we go, press up. As long as you can, as high as you can. Pressing up and down. Whew. Definitely not getting as high as I was on the bench, but I'm still getting the extension through the T-spine. I can feel it's the first one I did, I felt hips open up. I'm allowing that pelvis to go into full extension, terminal extension. So those of you that are doing the hip thrust this month with us, the barbell, by being able to get those hips all the way up is really important. And then I'm really right now, this one, I'm feeling a big stretch in the abs. So really getting that full extension through the rib cage. Okay, set 4 of 5, get set. Here we go. And relax. Okay, if you can hold it longer or if you have to do it shorter, you do you. Okay, get up as high as you can. I'm now able to, I'm holding this position, and what I'm thinking about is just what everything is doing. So once I get up, okay, and I can breathe, what are my feet doing? Are my knees out over the feet? Are my shoulders screwed in the socket? I got a consistent arch. Okay, and all of these things are happening fast because I'm probably not holding it as long as I just spoke. But the idea is to get more in tune with your position. You should do this with every movement, but of course movements that are challenging like this, and especially when you're active, they're hard sometimes in real time to think about it. You're just so focused on breathing. So last one here, focus on your position. All right, last one, here we go. And good. Okay, nice. Well, there we go. A little mini version of our active recovery. We've been doing, I guess, about 40 to 50 minutes. Today was about 30 minutes. All right, for those of you following along, okay, this is week 3. We'll be progressing. We've got two more weeks of this for this training cycle. And for those of you that are trying this out for the first time, if you liked it, the other ones are pretty similar, a little bit more, as I said, 50 minutes, some different movements as well, but our focus this month, strength stretching with that wheel, active recovery, the whole purpose is, rather than, and this is why we put them on Sundays, if you're someone who works out during the week, or you've got kids at home and you just don't have time to make it to the gym, this is an easy thing to do at home. whether they go to sleep or you got some time to yourself, or you know what, on family day, you're doing it with them. Get them involved doing as well. Normalize activity. They'll follow you, but more importantly, get an active recovery day instead of nothing. See you in the next one.